Welcome into the unknown realm with your hosts, Steve and Naomi from STURS Paranormal. Take a journey with us into a world that few understand and even fewer dare to go. On your home for everything wicked, DTMWickedRadio.com. Welcome into the unknown realm. I am Naomi.
I'm Steve.
And in the chat room we have Quiet Steve. He's a little tired today. He's had a busy day.
This has actually been a really good day.
Has it?
So far, no, I got to knock on wood, technical difficulties.
No?
None. I might have just jinxed ourselves.
I think so, because we had a little technical difficulties.
It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. We are excited because we have a very special guest on tonight. And
I just got some really good news, so I'm super excited. But that's all I'm going to say about that.
And just to warn you, next week, Steve will not be around.
That's not the good news.
That's the great news.
Are you kidding me?
And
it's going to be an all-female next week. That's all I got to say.
No, we're having Quiet Steve as my co-host.
Sorry, Quiet Steve.
No. Anyways, yeah, Quiet Steve hopefully will still be joining us in the chat room. But we are bringing on to help me with next week's show, which is the wonderful spirit medium Tiffany Rice joining us. And my co-host is going to be our teammate, Nikki. So
one of our newest teammates.
Yeah. So we are. She's
stepping up to the plate, wanting to do this. So
absolutely, I'm excited.
Big shoes to fill.
Well,
sorry, Nikki.
Your shoes aren't that big.
No.
No. But anyways,
she'll be fine. We love to have fun. That's all this is about.
Absolutely. And also something that just came up. Those of you who are very local to us. We are actually going to be this weekend in Newmarket at the old time, what's it called?
Downtown Fair or something like that.
And
we were going to do it, weren't doing it, we're going to do it, now we're doing it.
Our schedule was busy, and this actually just came up just recently, and so we're going to be down there. We're going to be where all the music is because one of our teammates does karaoke. So we'll be you look for the music. We'll be there. Come say hi to us.
I think we should call it karaoke.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So definitely come down and see us. That's in Newmarket, New Hampshire. Big party going on there. I think it's 11 to 6.
Right in the middle of the town square area.
We're going to be by the American Legion. And we want to say a big hello to a few people.
Hello.
We had the pleasure of meeting a couple of people who are new fans of us that we went and saw at Best Buy, and they are so excited to listen to our show and stuff after we talked to them, and so we want to say hi to you too.
And if I was in a bad mood, I am so sorry.
And then also to the girl Shannon, who was at the store. Yeah.
She made your day.
She did make my day. She cashed me out so nicely and happily and said, "I want you to know I'm one of your biggest fans." That made my day. I was psyched. So I was like, wow.
Thanks, Shannon. I guess she's not my biggest fan.
Well, she probably meant the team.
I know, I'm just kidding.
I was wearing our team jacket, so. But
I do want to give our sincere wishes for Jane Riley. Some bad news just happened, and we're praying for her and her family.
Yeah. Hopefully things go much better for her. I think that's about it for announcements, right?
Yeah, my daughter's graduating.
Graduated.
Going to college. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. You're still.
I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah, baby's growing up.
One of them. All right. Let's roll.
Anyway, so tonight's guest, you know him best from the show Scared, and him and Brian Cano together have done this wonderful project. He is also a filmmaker and paranormal investigator from Staten Island. He has done actually several different movies, had many parts into that. Also, they just recently did Three Pillars game, which I kicked his butt on.
Uh-oh, Chris.
I don't know how, but he taught me how. But anyway.
Chris, are you going to stand for that?
Are you there, Chris?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Anyways, welcome to the show, Chris Mancuso.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. You did kick my butt on the Three Pillars card game.
I don't know how.
Pretty sad. I'm one of the creators of the game, and I constantly lose. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
I just want to say, any second she can, she rubs that in.
It hurts.
He's so lying. Maybe every minute, but not every second.
Yeah, maybe every minute.
I was just psyched I won. I don't know how I won. As you know, I was like, what? What do I do? I'm so confused. But I won.
Well, we're going to have a rematch one day. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know what I actually
demand
thought
a rematch.
You're on.
What I actually thought was pretty cool is, we actually finally met you at Fort William Henry at Parahistory Con 2, and
that's right back in May, right?
Yeah. Yep. And Naomi we were both walking around meeting people and checking out different tables, and then she just disappeared on me. And when I found her, she's playing a game, and I'm like, "What is this? What are you doing?" No, it was definitely it was a great time, and to see how the game's actually played, because I've heard about it, I've seen it. That was a fun time.
So yeah, Chris, how'd that game come about?
Well, it's funny. Brian and I have wanted to do like a game for quite some time, and for years we've been saying, "Oh, let's try to develop a game," and it always seemed like it was pretty similar to any other game that was out there. One night he just started making cards. They had like the very basics of gameplay down, and then he sent me the cards. I was like, "Oh, it was just pretty cool." And it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I called him up, and we just started BSing, talking about, because we're kind of gaming geeks. So he said, okay, well, this card should do this, and this does this, and literally within, I think, 2 or 3 days, we had the entire set of rules completely down, which is pretty good.
I was totally confused. All your rules, and I'm like, I'm gonna die.
No, I mean, it seems a little daunting, I guess, at first. Like anything else, it seems like there's a lot of rules. But once you go through the game once or twice, it's really quite simple. It's a lot to absorb in the demo that I try to teach people in like a half hour. It's a lot to absorb, but usually by the second game, people are like, oh, okay, now I know what's going on.
It's actually a really fun game. I liked it, and I love the background to it, and it's cool. You get to play with your favorite kind of investigators, and they have powers, and
awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody can play me is awesome. I'm my favorite character. I'm my biggest fan too.
You're immortalized now.
There we go.
Sure, it is. We actually we just ordered the expansion pack. Because we came out with the game about 6 months ago, so we want to have like a little expansion for the game that keeps it fresh and makes it different every like 6 months or so. So this expansion is called Allies and Adversaries, and a bunch of the cards that you'll kind of pull out during the event phase actually are personalities, people within the paranormal field that a lot of people who are in the paranormal field and play the game they'll kind of recognize some of those personalities, like Darkness Dave or Rosemary Guiley. We got permission to use their images for the card game. They were very cool about it.
Nice.
So that should be pretty cool.
Wow.
Now this game has almost like the basis to Magic, if I'm correct.
I've never played Magic, so I can't really speak on that.
Me neither.
It's kind of like a take that game. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to solve cases by playing evidence. At the same time, you're also trying to stop your opponent with misfortune cards. So like you play like a battery drain on somebody because that happens all the time in paranormal investigations.
Right.
Like, all these things that happen on actual investigations we try to use in here. Well, hopefully not possession. That's one of our cards. Hopefully that doesn't happen all the time, but I'm sure it can happen. That's one of the misfortunes is possession.
Now, are you just selling this card game, I guess, locally through you guys, or is it on store shelves somewhere, or
on a website, or?
Well, right now, like we have it at conventions. We have it available on the website. We have it available on Amazon.com. Probably both the expansion will be up soon if it's not up already. And hopefully one day we can find like a bigger production company, like a Mattel or something like that, like a bigger company to actually pick it up and get a wider range of distribution. That's nice. The goal anyway. We'll see if it works.
I think that you have a great chance for it. I mean, even though, playing it the first time, I was very confused or whatever because I didn't know the rules, which is nothing new.
like anything, the first time you play, you might be a little confused,
But
unless
it's good.
It's like, tic-tac-toe, it's...
Right. It's definitely...
That's pretty simple. This is a little more complicated. So, it, like I said, it can be a little daunting, but once you play it once or twice, it's easy. And right now, like, we're still in the play testing phases of other expansions and stuff, and I love that, like, to play test to make sure the game works, and it's good to see it all, like, come together,
Well,
right.
What I'm going to do is... Oops, sorry, go ahead, Chris. What's that?
I said, you gonna play?
I would love to play.
We got to play.
Definitely. I actually have a friend that runs a store, and in that it's like it's called. Well, I don't actually know if I can say it on the air, but
no, you can't.
he runs a store. And right, exactly.
Yeah, that's the store.
He does a lot of like tournament games for Magic and some of those card games that are popular with the kids of today. I'm actually going to see if would be interested in maybe picking up a few of those to try it out in his store and
that would be
get
great.
the feedback of what they actually think of the game, because I think it's great. Just sitting there and watching you two play. I mean, I wish we had more time because I would have jumped in.
Hopefully we'll see each other at other events, and we'll definitely be able to play. Like I really enjoy it. It's developing the game was a good creative change from doing, because we do all the investigations, we do the documentaries, and this was more of immediate like kind of payoff in the sense that hey, we put it together, now it's done, it's here. Whereas making a documentary takes forever, because you have to constantly review all your evidence and then put it together, and it takes months and months and months. So there's no kind of payoff until like 6 months later. Here we made a game, and within a month we were able to start playtesting it. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Well, I think you have a great game there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then it helps that I won.
I told you, Chris.
Rematch, baby, rematch. Don't worry. Kick your butt next time.
I really don't know how I won, except for the fact that you helped me along the way. That's it. But it's definitely a cool game. Definitely cool for like people who investigate and stuff. Because you totally can completely relate through the entire game, and I liked it. That was pretty cool.
And what I like about it, it takes maybe 20 minutes to play. It's very small and portable. Where if you're a paranormal investigator, you're on investigation, have a little bit of downtime. Hey, you just pull it out of your pocket, essentially. You could just play, and you're still. Hey, I like the fact that we try to make a little bit educational, where like each card. If you read each card, has kind of text that tells you what things are, and you can actually learn a little something if you actually look at all the text, game text on the cards and everything.
Right. Oh yeah. Cool game. Very cool game. We'll have to look into getting that in his friend's store. Now, curious. All before doing the Scared show and your radio show and all these movies and documentaries and stuff, what did you think, or where did you think your life was going, or what? Actually, first, tell us what Chris Mancuso was like before all that.
Before I got into the paranormal and all this stuff?
Yeah.
Well, since this is funny, when I was in 4th grade, I decided I wanted to be a writer. Okay? I think the first story I wrote was like, I basically watched Friday the 13th Part 4. Yeah, here I am, 9 years old. I watched Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter. So we had just got our VCR, so I'm really dating myself. I watched it, and I was like, wow, that was cool. Because even back when I was a little tiny kid, I love horror movies. So I wrote an entire, 4-page story, which was pretty big when I'm 9 years old. Wow, 4 pages. And it was just essentially like a rewrite of that film, but I had all the kids from my 4th grade class in it, and basically one by one, they all got killed off. And my teacher allowed me to get up in front of the class and read that story out to them. And here I am reading a horror story with Jason Voorhees killing off all the kids in my class on a school field trip or something like that. Now,
that would not fly
nowadays. If I did that today, I would be sent for psychological evaluation.
Right.
But back then, I mean, the kids loved it, you know what I mean, which kind of fueled me to rip off more horror movies as I watched them, when I was a little kid. And like every week I'd get up and, read a story based on whatever horror movie I'd watched that weekend. And that really kind of fueled me to go along and pursue that path of writing. As I got a little older, high school, and even beyond that, I was very into the supernatural, like I said, horror, supernatural ghost stories. And, you've heard the saying, every kind of good piece of fiction holds a kind of nugget of truth. So I'm like, well, if it does, is there any validity to ghost stories, to things like that? And that was one of the things that really kind of pushed me into the paranormal. Like, I was into urban exploring as well, like, going to all those kind of creepy places and stuff like that. But I really was looking for those kind of also the inner answers to my questions about, faith and the afterlife and this and that. And also it would be very beneficial to my writing to have a paranormal experience. I figured that would be great.
Oh, yeah.
So that's basically what put me on the path to the paranormal. That, and I watched Ghostbusters and Poltergeist and The Exorcist as a kid, so.
I remember my parents going out and my sister staying home to watch me because I'm the baby of the family, and Halloween had just came out. And we watched it, and I was really young. I must have been maybe 8 or 9, and I'm like, oh, this is a cool movie. And she is terrified. She's terrified out of her mind. And I'm like, this is awesome.
I'm still scarred from the first ever horror movie I watched, and that was The Shining, with the
Really?
2 creepy girls in the hallway. Ugh. But you know what?
Funny,
I want to go investigate creepy hallways in hotels now.
Yeah,
so.
silence.
It's funny because here I am, I'm 8 or 9 years old watching all these horror movies, and during the day I loved them, but then at night I was in my bed, I pulled the covers up over my head because the whole ostrich thing, if you can't see the boogeyman, he can't see you kind of thing. I was really scared in bed at night, but during the day I was a horror fanatic. I love to scare myself, I guess.
That's funny. So what is your all-time favorite horror movie?
Oh, that's tough. There's so many good ones. So many good. I'll have to say, one of my favorites is the 1983 John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh wow.
That's horror, like sci-fi horror. You ever see that one with Kurt Russell and Keith David?
I did not see that.
I don't know if I did. I know
takes the form of all the people.
I know the movie you're talking about. I can't remember if I actually saw it or because I think I'm getting. Do they have a video game that's made up of that movie?
They did. A couple of years ago, they came out with a video game of it. Yeah, which was actually pretty cool. I played it.
So I think I might be thinking of the video game.
Exorcist, of course, is one of my all-time favorites that still kind of creeps me out today. Especially more so now, I think, than when I was a kid, because I believe in the paranormal now, and I believe it exists, and I believe all these possibilities of people getting possessed are real. So hits home a little deeper now, than it did back then.
Right.
Back then, it was, wow, this is just cool fiction. But now it's like, wow, that could really happen to an extent anyway.
Right.
The one thing that I noticed about the paranormal field is if you don't think it's going to happen, it usually happens.
Right.
It's like,
True, that's true.
That couldn't happen.
That's very true.
What was that?
Once I actually became a skeptic and said, this is all crap, because when I started, I tried to be open-minded and hopeful, and hey, I'm looking for this stuff. I'm going to find it. And after like 4 years, I got guts. I got nothing. I'm like, all right, this is all bull crap, man. This all is fiction. Then it was after that, like maybe like 3 years after that, I actually had my experience when I least expected it. So that was actually pretty cool. I had my first experience, and since then, they say you have one experience that opens you up to others, and that's very true. And I never believed it, but it is very true, and it happens.
I would love to hear your story on your first experience, if you're willing to hear it.
That's kind of a long one. So I will tell you something that recently happened, and just like you were talking about, when you don't expect it is when it happens. This was pretty crazy. I'm sitting in my office one day, and I'm talking on the phone with Brian Kano. We talk business every day. We talk about this and that. And he was in, like, Massachusetts somewhere. So he's on his cell phone. Sometimes cell phones lose their connection. They get static, whatever. So I got some static and lost connection. I called him back once. It happened again. I called him back the second time. And the phone went like this. Went, long static. Then the static stopped. And I hear a voice. Swear to God. It goes, help me.
Oh, damn.
Here I am. It's like noon. All right, so it's during the day. I'm in my house, in my office, on my phone, and I hear that. And it's like, I'm not investigating. I'm not doing anything. It's like, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do to help you? So I thought at first maybe Brian was messing around, but, we don't do that to each other. So when I asked him, I said, dude, would you mess with me? He's like, no. And you didn't hear that. He's like, no. I was like, all right, I believed him,
You should have said, dial 911. That's my help.
And that was fairly recently, within the last, like 3 or 4 months that happened. So, and like I said, at home, it's like, I've never had, things happen to me at home. Like, home is kind of a safe zone, and it's like, hey, is it the fact that I do this kind of work and this research that now, hey, they're starting, whatever's out there starting to know me? That's kind of a little scary thought sometimes,
Yeah.
Like back in 2012, I took my wife for our anniversary, went to Gettysburg, and wanted to do a little investigating. And the first 2 days we were there was very quiet. Nothing much happened. The third day, before we left, we're at one of the battlefields where the Farnsworth charge took place. I have one of those spirit boxes. So I pulled it out, and I said, hi, my name is Chris. Can you tell me what your name is? And I swear to God, the box goes, Mancuso. I was like, whoa, now that's not a common name you're going to hear on the radio very often. You could say,
right.
oh, well, you hear radio, stuff, but Mancuso is not a very common name, especially down in, like, Pennsylvania, I don't think.
Right.
So that was kind of creepy. And that was the first instance where something, like, kind of called me out,
Yeah.
And that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I think my wife, too.
I was actually showing my kids how the spirit box works, and so I'm sitting in my house, and I turned it on, and it starts going through its thing, and I'm like, so then you ask questions like this, can you tell me the name of the person holding the spirit box? And it just went, Steve, and I was like, that's enough.
Put it away.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sitting in my house. I'm like, oh, this is not good.
I'll tell you, that's one piece of equipment. When I first heard about this thing, the spirit box, the Frank's box, whatever you want to call it at the time, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That's such a load of bull. And I was really very skeptical about that device until we've used it on a couple of investigations. And I was getting messages, words, more so like sentences that were coming out that, were direct responses to questions. And when you hear cursing coming out of these boxes, they can't say that on terrestrial radio. And they're really not even supposed to say it on internet radio. So, like, when you hear something tell you to like F off or something like that, or call you a mother effer or something, it's like, whoa, and that's my exact reaction. Whoa, oh my God. You know, and I don't give them 100% credibility, but I really have to say about 60 to 70% of the times we use the spirit box, there are definite answers to questions.
Right.
You know, I think we've had situations where it's like dead on, and then we've had situations where it's like nothing's happening. It's like just nothing makes sense.
Does it say Frank or Jim? I can't really make out what I just said.
Didn't even say anything.
Yeah. But there's all the times when you listen to it, and it's like, wow.
Very recently, we did an event at Lizzie Borden's house. It was June 28th. We did the retrial of Lizzie Borden. So we kind of had 20-something, attendees there, and half of them were for the defense and half of them were for the prosecution. And we had a couple of reenactors there. So we were in the basement, and we did this whole kind of, for like an hour and a half, we did this kind of retrial, try to use it as a trigger event. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it worked. Like, we got so much evidence after that. And here's another thing with the spirit box that happened that night that was totally, like, blew my mind. Somebody says, it was like somebody's birthday then, and one of the ghosts goes, "Can you say happy birthday to Will?" And we all heard the box go, "Happy birthday."
Oh.
I'm like, come on, guys. And I was like, come on. You know, that was pretty good, man. You know, like there's some stuff that's definitely questionable. When you ask for something like that, it's like, say, happy birthday. And that's multiple syllables. You know what I mean? It's not just like, yes, no. Multiple syllables that, you know, and it says happy birthday. That kind of blew my mind, you know?
So, Chris, I want to pick your... Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
I like the fact that we're in a field that even after 12 years of investigating, things like this can still, like, kind of blow my mind, you know? Can make me go, wow.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Now, when you get that wow experience, does it make you want to find out more still? Like the drive?
Absolutely.
It drives you more, yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you guys know, like 90 to 95% of the time on investigations, it's like nothing happens. It's boring. And that's the thing with paranormal TV shows. Like, if they showed it actual, because people are like, oh, why don't you show a whole investigation? If you watched a whole investigation on TV at 6 hours as well, you'd fall asleep.
Yeah.
You're better off watching paint dry, you know?
They can come over and help us watch our evidence.
Edit stuff down to like a half hour, because you only want to see the exciting stuff, because most of the time this is very boring.
And sometimes the exciting stuff is just someone going, oh, did you hear that? And then you come back, oh, that was a mouse.
Did you hear that? No, I didn't.
Yeah, a lot of people think the evidence review is done in a commercial break too, which is
oh my gosh,
funny.
Takes hours and hours and hours.
You got investigators that get into the field because of the TV shows, and then they expect to find a ghost before the first commercial break, and they're like, it doesn't work like that, you know. Yeah. The Toronto commercials, if you're finding a ghost within the first 15 minutes of you being somewhere, you're either like the most haunted place in America, or you're probably doing something wrong.
I have to agree with that. There have been nights where there's nothing going on. Nothing at all. I mean...
Yeah, but there's nights where you think nothing happened the whole entire night, and you review your evidence, and you have some pretty amazing stuff. And it's just like, wow.
That's happened. But, I mean, they're like, and I'm not, necessarily slapping people on the wrist saying, bad, but it's like, I've seen groups post up what they call, like, EVP's evidence, and it's like, clearly, something that I wouldn't post as evidence.
Right.
You know? Like a little bump or something like that. It's like, if an EVP to me isn't like Class A, I won't post it, because if other people can poke holes in it, or if I can poke holes in it, other people will. And these things are just so, I don't know, not even there. Like half of them I don't even hear. I'm like, are you guys crazy? But, hey, at least they're trying to advance the field, so I can't really knock them for it. I just wish they would be a little more critical of their own work.
Yeah, well, like as a team, we'll listen to what we'll each go through what we've caught, and then we'll come together and, listen.
And then I'll tear it apart, Chris.
Yeah. He tears everybody's hopes and dreams apart. No. But no, I mean, our thoughts are, when in doubt, throw it out. I mean, like if,
Exactly.
You have people be like, oh, I don't know, I couldn't know. And it's like, oh, well, that one's out. What do we have?
Another reason I always tell people too, like especially you're doing an EVP session, roll videotape, because I mean this happened to us in the past, like years ago. It's like, we always say, hey, don't whisper during an EVP session, but it's like when everybody's being really quiet, it's like kind of almost mentally ingrained to us. It's to whisper. So once we thought we got an EVP, I was like, wow, this is great. Let's check the video. Oh, video. You see, that was me. I'm like, damn it. And I thought I knew better, but I was whispering. So I'm sure that happens all the time and people don't catch it, It happened to me.
Right. I mean, perfect example of what you're saying, too, is when we first started out, I actually brought, my dad was coming up from Florida, and I brought him on an investigation because he was interested. And the first place I put him was inside the bathroom by himself, because supposedly this little girl would come in through the door, walk through the door. Right. Well, I was like, you go in there. Well, I'm standing in the hallway, and I guess joke's on me because I had my headphones on, so I'm listening to my recorder live, and all of a sudden I hear what I thought was my name yelled into my headphones. And, like first a few investigations, I'm like trying to find the exit. And come to find out, I'm reviewing the evidence, and I'm like, here it is. It's definitely my name. And we actually matched up the time. Well, he on his recorder, or his, I want to say it was his recorder, he actually had sneezed at the exact same time. And what it was is I heard the sneeze through the bathroom, but it amplified over my recorder. And having that second evidence to back it up and to cross-check, it's like what it sounded like to me was not exactly what it was. So,
not to mention, we have some of the most monstrous stomach growls.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any stomach problems.
It's funny. One thing I also learned through the years, too, is kind of what we call reevaluation, where let's say we went through a case 3-4 years ago, and we got nothing. This is crap. But sometimes then when you listen back after a prolonged period of time, and you kind of review it again, you might hear things like there was a documentary we did back in 2003, and totally missed an EVP that was there when we went back and we were like editing it for something else. We were putting pieces together for something else. And we found, we're like, wow, we totally missed that the first time around. So always, like, keep the recordings, and definitely it's good to reevaluate once in a while. Go back and give it a second or third listen, after some serious time has passed.
Right.
And then you might have something missed.
We actually, we've had where we've gone to kind of gather stuff for when we're going to a Paracon to show, like pictures or EVPs or video or whatever. And we'll be going back on stuff and be like, wow, how did we miss that? And find amazing stuff. And it's like, holy smokes. And I think every time we go back to look at our Rolling Hills Asylum stuff, it seems like we catch another thing, that we missed, initially. And that place is amazing.
Have you got to go there yet, Chris?
Where?
Rolling Hills Asylum.
I have not. I know Brian was there, and I think he's doing, or he did an event there. I think he might be doing one in the near future.
He's going at the end of the month.
Yeah, if you ever get the chance.
About what Brian does tonight. He tells me after I'm burnt sometimes.
If you ever get the chance to go to Rolling Hills, you need to go.
You should go with him. That place is
Hold on. Chris, you should go with us. Sorry, Brian, we love you, but
I'll just tag along. Like, hey, Brian, I'm just hiding in your suitcase.
Yeah, Brian knows he's more than welcome to.
Yeah, definitely. No, that place is awesome.
We were just talking about reevaluation. The point I wanted to make was because this is something that we really didn't do too, and we were showing some of our stuff to the Ziggity, to John Zaffis, and he's like, oh, well, there you got this there, and you got that there. And I'm like, really? Really? He's like, yeah. And we play it back, and the guy's right, man. He's been doing this for so long that he picks that. And, dude, that guy's like a ghost magnet, I swear.
I swear
he's like a ghost magnet.
I have such great respect for him, and meeting him in person was, like, awesome. he's just such a nice man and so insightful and very true blue. I mean, he's like one of those people who's just so true blue.
Talking about John Zaffis.
He's like my go-to guy. If I have a paranormal question, like he's a guy I'll call up, and I could call him up at 11 o'clock at night and ask him a question. He doesn't care, he's good like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like we did an event with him in Gettysburg, Phenomenology,
mm-hmm.
and we were in like the Gettysburg farmhouse, the Eisenhower farmhouse, and he's there, and we're doing EVP sessions. He's like, "Oh, you got an audible," and that means because he heard it with his ears, and then sure enough, we played back the recording, and I didn't hear anything until we played it back on tape. But he's like picking stuff up like left and right, like, "Oh, you got one there, you got one there." And I was like, "Really?" And we played it back. Sure enough, the guy was right. What's funny is he left. He left because he's an old man, so he goes to bed a little early. So we're still at the place. And once he left, it got really quiet. I'm like, "Hey, we need to bring the ghosts back because they all got quiet after he left."
Go wake up John.
Maybe they followed him to his hotel room.
Yeah.
Make him sleep in here while we're investigating.
We actually got to meet him, 3 weeks ago, down in Rhode Island at Ocean State Paracon. And
okay.
I had actually heard about that, how his ears and how he could pick things up for like EVPs and just phenomenal. And to hear that from you, it just confirms that,
Yeah.
I personally didn't hear anything until I listened to my recorder.
I guess, you figure the guy's been doing it for like 40 years.
Right.
So, he's definitely a man who knows his stuff. Like I said, he's my kind of go-to guy that I have a question, and I'll ask him, and it's been pretty enlightening experience, like having these conversations with him. And him and I, we have like a good rapport where, like, we'll bust each other's kind of nuts once in a while. We'll play around, we kid around a lot. But then there are times where it's like we'll just get, enthralled. I'll get enthralled in like a 3-hour conversation of him telling me all stuff that he's done and, his kind of theories and things that he's experienced. And I'm just like, wow, this guy's been through so much and he knows so much. And I've been doing this for 12 years and I still have like so much to learn just from talking to a guy like this,
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Stan, I love that you actually said that because that's actually what I think too is, if you ever stop learning in this field, I actually think I had this conversation with John Zaffis. I mean, he's still learning, and you have to keep wanting to learn more about this field, I mean, he's obviously learning, he knows it all already, but
yeah, he's way many steps ahead of all of us.
But I mean, you can't claim to know it all in this field because once you do it, it comes and basically slaps you upside the head and something different happens. So.
Definitely.
Well,
now, sorry, go ahead.
No, think about it, like how much the field has just changed in the last 10 years. This guy's going back 40 years, 30. Once you have, like, that show Ghost Hunters came out, like 2004, there was a whole big paranormal explosion. And within the last couple of years now, I mean, there's devices now that are made specifically for ghost hunting, where most of the stuff that they used back then was all repurposed things. So it's like, hey, he's also, learning. He has to learn how to use all this new equipment and this newfangled equipment, for an old man,
Now, speaking of equipment, what is your favorite equipment to use?
Ooh, that's kind of a tough one. I mean, I always like to have a camera on me. I always like to have a camera rolling. Aside from using, they say your best piece of equipment is your body, and I agree with that 100%. Yep. But, yeah, I mean that's been my thing. I guess since the beginning is I've always had a camera, and I'm always like trying to record. And it's been, like I said, it's been 12 years. I've never caught a spirit on camera, and that's maybe I should give that up. I don't know. Maybe I should get a new piece of equipment. I don't know. Maybe I just suck.
No, not at all.
There's a lot of equipment I like. Like I said, I've become kind of very fascinated by the spirit box now because of the results that I've got. We've done some pretty cool experiments with it. We did one experiment a couple of years ago where, basically what I did was I put a set of headphones in it. I plugged the headphones in, put it on, and that totally changes everything. Once you put headphones on, like, because that's all you hear now is whatever's coming out of the radio. So what I did was I put headphones on, and I didn't ask any questions, I didn't say anything. I would just write down what I heard. Right? I was writing it down. And the more I listened, and like your ears, it's almost like learning another language in a sense. So the more you hear, the more you will be able to hear in a sense. Like once I started writing, it almost became like automatic writing because I was hearing entire sentences coming out of this thing. And it's like things like, hey, you're not writing fast enough, write faster. You know, it's like hearing all these different voices. Like, and it was like trying to pick out one voice on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. It seemed like there was so much coming through. It really that kind of freaked my head out a little bit, I was like, whoa, hey, what's going on here?
Right.
I read that like George Lopez, he in the military was a linguist, and he's George Lopez. You know who he is? Like he's very good with the spirit box, and I mean, very impressive with it. And he, I read, was a linguist in the military, hence his ears are trained to listen for coding and different things between
the white
countries.
Noise.
The white noise and all that good stuff. So his ears really pick up on the ghost box, where with me, when I'm around it, it's like my ears are going crazy. It's like they
too much.
Yeah, to me it's like overload. I
mean, you have to learn to tune out certain things. That's why I use the headphones, and you can learn to, and you hear so much clearer all the above and underneath. Because that's what you're listening for. Is not those immediate voices necessarily that are coming out, but there's voices below that are talking, and those are the ones where you hear like full sentences and stuff. Like pretty crazy.
Now, do you have a way of connecting some kind of recording device to the spirit box to record what's going on?
Well, when I did it, when I did it a couple of times, I just had the headphones in. But there are splitters. You could use a splitter, and as long as you have the right connection, you can connect it right into splitter and also record. The problem is when you do that, if you're asking questions, you won't be able to hear yourself on the recorder because it's recording directly from the box.
True. Right. Very true.
You know what I mean?
You'd have to get the answer later.
Right into you got to plug right into the microphone from the radio, so it's recording that and it won't hear your questions. But I mean, it's still a good way to do it too. As long as you're not asking questions. Which, like I said, that's what I did at first. I just wanted to see what I could hear, and the first time I did it, actually, this is before I was even writing stuff down. I just said, let me put this on. I'm curious. I want to see what I hear. I was hearing some dark messages come through. Like,
really?
Rip your face off. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And that freaked me out. And when I told everybody, and we're thinking like, all right, well maybe like I have a little bit of a dark side to my personality, creatively. I write horror stories. Maybe that was just me. And there was another girl there named Rachel, and she's like, well, I'm kind of bubbly and I'm very happy and outgoing personality. Let me try it too, and see if we get if we hear the same thing. So, we did this experiment in multiple ways. We had our control and we had all the other ways of doing it. And she did get a lot less dark messages than I did. So it could be, but also it could be, this like attracts like, like the power of attraction. So if I'm kind of, if you're pissed off or you're just a mad person, you might have those kind of entities attracted to you, and they're the ones trying to connect to you. Whereas if, hey, I'm in a good mood, maybe you have somebody nice who wants to talk to you. I mean, there's different theories on it, but it's definitely interesting to think about,
Now, speaking of John Zaffis, you did a great documentary that actually was highly praised by John Zaffis when I was speaking to him. You and Brian did a documentary on him called The World Within, which I thought was pretty cool.
Thank you. That was magic, I got to tell you, from a filmmaker standpoint anyway, the way that came together. He asked us if we were interested in doing it. We said, absolutely. And we filmed John for like a month straight. And, all his life, we slept at his house, and during the edit process, now the edit process for us usually takes like forever, because it's just the two of us and we try to be perfectionists, but I mean, it just came together. did the whole project, I think, within 2 or 3 months, and that was just unheard of for us. So it was like, oh, wow, this really just, it was like a blessed project, you know, the way it came together so quickly and turned out so well.
Now, by following him, what is probably the most valuable thing you learned from him being in the paranormal realm?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, there's so much. Like, and I was very fascinated, you know, when we talk about possession and all that stuff. And being a guy who's been through it and has told all these stories, and I learned so much of that. And that's one of the things that really kind of, like, I will not do a case. I have no desire to see an exorcism or be a part of an exorcism, even as just like a bystander filming it, because that is just next level scary stuff to me.
Right.
People say, "Oh wow, yeah, I'd love to see an exorcism, or I'd love to be part of an exorcism." I'm thinking, like, are you crazy?
Right.
If there are demons, you know, possessing people, the last thing I want is for it to look at me and go, "Oh, Chris, we're coming for you next." You know, I got enough bad stuff going on in my life. I need some demon coming after me. You know?
He looks fun. Let's go to him.
I actually think it's funny that you say that, because we actually, I actually just did my first house, well, was part of a first house cleansing that I've ever even witnessed. And to me, that's even the same thing. Like, I sort of sit back and say, okay, so you just banished this from the house. You just pushed it out of the house. Now, is it sitting outside the driveway waiting for me to now come out and say, well, I'll go home with you?
Yeah, I'm going to come home with you.
I'll wait till they open the door and I'll get in the passenger seat.
I'm like, what do we do?
I'm like when I tell people, you know, like I'll suggest things that they can do, but I don't go try to banish demons or banish ghosts or clean houses. Like, I refer them to other people for that. I'm a documentarian. I'm an investigator. I'm not a priest. You know what I mean? So me going to somebody's house, you know, trying to banish things is really, I'm not qualified to do that.
Me either.
You know, I'll give them advice. I'll hook them up to people who do that. That is not something I do, nor something I really want to do. Because, hey, if you were, you know, like you said, what if it's waiting outside to follow me home? You know.
Right.
No thanks.
I mean, I already think that, and it's weird because I'd like to know if you have this happen to yourself, but. You know, I've been investigating paranormal for 4 years, but I've had things happen since I was like 11 years old. But in the house that I currently live in, it seems that when we have an investigation coming up, within that week, I have something happen at my house. And I've actually had it happen to the point where it was related to the house that we were going to, wow. Where they would say after somebody comes over to the house, there's one marble left in the house somewhere. And I was doing my laundry the night before the investigation, or the day of the investigation. I lift my clothes up, and one marble falls out of my clothes onto the cement floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know, and it's like stuff like that. I'm just like, really? But I mean, I sometimes hear it from other people that say this happens to them as well. It just intrigues me though, because it's like, how, you know, are they aware that we're coming in? Are they, you know, aware of who we are and what we do? And, you know, can they, I guess, go from house to house like that?
I mean, you know, if you asked me these questions a couple of years ago, I would have thought laughing. You know, I'd be like, oh, dude, Steve, you're crazy, bro. But now, yeah, you know, well, I admit pretty much anything is possible. Like, if you know, there are these beings in the afterlife. Who says they see the world the way we do? You know, right. As far as time goes, they might be aware that you're going, especially if you went over to that house and did some interviews with some people. You know, hey, this guy's coming back. Let's mess with him. You know, let's make him not come. Or, luckily, it's never happened to me. I did it. You know, I did have that one experience where my phone told me said help me. And I had another experience one time where I saw a ghost cat in my house, but otherwise my house is pretty quiet.
Wow, ghost cat.
You want to buy my house?
No. I don't want to go where I live. Like, if I go investigate somewhere, fine. I don't want them coming home with me. Unless they're going to pay rent.
This
there
is
you
true.
Go.
You know what?
Yeah.
You all need to pay rent.
If they're going to pay rent, you know, to help with the bills, maybe, fine.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I want...
Well, I'm going to try to interrupt my sleep.
It is bedtime.
Yeah.
Go away.
Make sure you leave the $200 on the kitchen table.
Yeah. My luck, they'll come and they'll take what little money I got. It's like, I got like $15 to my name, and then they'll be gone. Like, my wife does that enough. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh. That's awesome.
So, Chris, I want your input on your thoughts of, like the apps such as like Ghost Radar, or I think you can get the Obvious?
Yeah, all the
or
apps
something?
that are on the phone systems nowadays.
Yeah. What is your thoughts on those?
Well, here's the thing. I mentioned this before when I called. Like, I'm actually on a cell phone now, which is very rare.
Right.
I don't have my own cell phone. Now, can these things work? I guess. To me, they seem more like for entertainment purposes than anything else. Like the Ghost Radar I saw was kind of ridiculous. It just looked like, if you ever watched the movie Aliens with Sigourney Weaver, and they're looking at the device and the aliens are coming in, and it's going around like a radar thing, and I'm like, same thing. It's like, how does this thing know what ghost is? It's like
yeah.
Like I said, it looks just like for entertainment. I mean, we tried to test them out, but I mean, there's no real way to give a lot of this stuff validity. Even the Obelisk. Now, I have one. I've used it. My problem with the Obelisk, I would call it the paranormal speaking spell in a sense, because it's not like what 300 to 500 words programmed into this thing, and one of those words probably is demon, another one's probably ghost. Now, how often are they going to come up? You only have 500 words programmed into it. It's going to come up eventually, And you're going to make it fit into the situation. Oh, my God, it just said ghost, If it started spitting out words that weren't programmed in, that's a different story, which is why when I do use like an Obelisk, I'll only put it on phonetic mode. Because phonetic mode, it just has those building blocks of speech, the building blocks of words, the TH sound, the S sound. It's just sounds. And it'll eventually hopefully put out words it's not programmed in there. It's putting words together. And if it's then it's answering questions, that gives it a little more validity. But just to have words that are programmed in and spit out every once in a while, it's like, well, that's nothing amazing about that.
It's funny, like, because there's so much, controversy about the Ghost Radar. And, I'm totally up in the air regarding it. I don't know if it works or not. But I've been trying to, like, use it at some point on all our investigations just to see how it reacts.
We don't use it as evidence.
No. We don't use it as evidence.
To check it out.
Definitely check it out. And it's funny because we had an investigation where the daughter's name is Autumn. And the daughter walked out of her bedroom and it says, "There's Autumn."
2 different words.
Yeah.
And then Autumn walked in the room.
And we went back there, I don't know, a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
And it again said Autumn.
And Autumn was in the room this time.
Yeah.
But it's just, stuff like that, it's like, really?
It's like, you're on the fence. You're like, oh, I don't think so. It doesn't work. And then all of a sudden spits out something like that. And it's like, wow.
That's too coincidental.
Yeah,
and it is possible that
it,
it may work for some people, it may not work for other people. This is the same thing. Like, you might go on we might go to the same location to investigate. You might find 20 EVPs, and I find nothing. Now, who's right or who's wrong? It just could be people that bring it in. People who are maybe more open will bring it in. Again, these are theories. I don't know. And one of the things we always tell people is experiment. Experimentation is a very important part of the process because we're all about the process when it comes to investigating. And you try things out. If they work for you, great. If not, you try it. It doesn't work, all right, you discard it, But if things are working for you and it makes sense, absolutely use it, just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it won't work for somebody else.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on the Pandora box?
I'm not even sure I know what that is. Could you elaborate a little bit?
That's what it was.
It's actually I guess they're really hard to get. I actually tried to look at for one because I wanted to sort of break it down and do my own experiments on it. I've only seen it used once. It's basically a real-time EVP. As you speak, it has a display screen, and it looks like a voice recorder, but the display screen will actually light up when the spirit responds. As you are doing your EVP session, it will actually just go from your question to your question to your question until there is a response from so-called spirit.
Okay. I kind of know what you're talking about. I mean, it's basically like a voice-activated recorder.
Right, correct? But instead of you're right. It basically is just going to eliminate the white noise unless the spirit's speaking.
Right. Okay.
I guess that's right.
I seen one of those, but what it was basically an old Panasonic recorder that it's just set up to just record when there's noise. So it would cut out all that silence, like you said. And hey, if it's picking up stuff, if you ask a question and then there's a noise and it picks up, or there's a voice and it picks it up, that's pretty cool in my book,
Yeah.
And it saves the time of listening to a bunch of dead air too, which is
right.
I know we all love to do that. It's like
good times.
I'm still very skeptical though on every piece of equipment that I use. I don't know. I still gotta have that skepticism, even though I've had stuff happen since I was 11 and I don't know what it is. Well,
I think you have to have that in order to kind of keep your mind open to, I mean, a lot of people jump the gun where they're like, oh, that's an EVP.
Yeah.
When, you're like, well, no, I think that was actually so-and-so whispering. Or,
that was my dad sneezing. I mean?
Yeah, Exactly.
I mean, I always tell people, it's your responsibility if you want to do this kind of as scientifically as possible, I guess. The paranormal shouldn't be the first conclusion you jump to, but rather the last.
It should be the last, yeah.
Eliminate everything else, all the other possibilities. Once you've done that, then you could say, yes, this is paranormal because I've eliminated pretty much everything else it could possibly be.
It's out of the normal.
Go through those possibilities, yeah. Go through it one by one. Check them off. It's not this. It's not that. I didn't fart. It's not my stomach.
Well, I even take it one step further, Chris, where, even if we go through our own ripping apart the evidence and, we say, okay, this is evidence now, and all of a sudden somebody on, a public site or somebody that we're showing this evidence to says, well, I actually think this is it. I always say, okay, well, let me take this back, and then I'm going to read a look at it, because if you think it might be something, who am I to say it isn't? Right.
It could be something you missed. It's good to have that, kind of collective thought process going, which I think. I mean, some people are just a-holes, and that's not evidence.
It's
right.
And again, people will play things for me or show me pictures, especially pictures. They show me pictures of, what do you think? I really can't comment because I wasn't there when it happened. And if I'm not there, I don't know the circumstances of, and sure you could tell me, but, that depends. Do I believe you or are you crazy? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, unless I'm actually there when things happen, I can't really make an assessment. I can't make a, educated comment on it. But I try to be empathetic because I've had my own experiences. So I'll try nowadays to believe people more than disbelieve them like I used to. Like I used to kind of just smile very politely and kind of roll my eyes thinking, oh my God, this guy's crazy. But now it's like, I've had those experiences, so I can sympathize, and I would have laughed at myself, a couple of years ago.
Wow.
I definitely think people, have to be definitely more supportive versus, there's a lot of people out there just rip people apart and think
the negativity is huge in the paranormal.
And I think if people more are supportive and helping out one another and teaching one another, I mean, the people, the John Zappases teaching the, the new people just coming in, okay, this is,
that's huge.
This is why you do it this way, or this is why this is not this, or this is fantastic, leading the way. And I mean, the closer we get to really knowing and understanding what's out there, versus, tearing people down. And that drives me crazy.
And another thing I won't do, especially when it's people who aren't really into the paranormal, let's say they show me a picture, and I think this is my grandmother, who passed away last year. Been having dreams. I'm not going to say, no, that's not your grandmother. Because
you have no idea.
I have no idea. Even if it's not your grandmother, if you think it is and that gives you a little bit of peace, who am I to take that away from you?
Right.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Even if it's not, but you get that kind of mental peace from it, hey, have at it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Makes you feel a little better because, people do need to feel better about those things. Emotional losses really affect people, and if it can make them sleep a little better at night or feel like, hey, yeah, grandma is watching me, I'm not going to try to take that away from anybody especially without knowing all the circumstances and everything else,
Definitely.
So make sure you think it's an angel, that's great,
So, Chris, what's the up and coming stuff going on with you and all your adventures you have going on? Do you have any new movies coming out, or what can people look forward to?
We have one, this huge project, which I'm very excited about. Well, as always, kind of life gets in the way, work gets in the way from time to time. So we're a little behind on its progress, but we're doing a series. It's actually a new series of documentaries. There'll probably be about 6 of them. It's called the Paranormal Compendium. And rather than, because we've done the whole thing where it's like, hey, we focus, this is our group, and this is the location. Well, these documentaries are answering kind of those bigger picture questions in the paranormal. Like, we're talking about equipment, all this equipment that we have. Well, why do we use it? I mean, sure, people see it on TV, they see it on Ghost Adventures, they see it on Ghost Hunters. They go out to the nearest ghost hunting store, order online, and they're using it. But do they know why they're using it? Do they know the theories behind it? So that's kind of like, in the first documentary, it's Tech and Theory, and that's what we're tackling is all the kind of the equipment that we use, the history of it, why we use it, and the theories behind why we use this equipment today. So again, we want to be very educational. Like, a lot of people don't like to read. I guess I can't blame them, but hey, you enjoy watching TV? Here's where you can get some knowledge, not just entertainment.
Right.
But we want to kind of lay down some knowledge, like, hey, this is good, like a video encyclopedia almost, but more entertaining, I hope, because I'm on TV.
You are quite entertaining, so it
that.
should be good.
I try.
I love your radio voice, like when we're at Penhurst. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm like, oh my God. I like trying to not laugh. I'm like, oh.
I always tell people I have a face for radio and a voice for writing.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
I'm good like that. I too many people laugh. I try not to take myself too seriously with things. No one should take themselves that seriously.
Right.
No, definitely not.
That's what we love about this show. We try to keep it lighthearted. We like to have a fun time, and it's
absolutely.
It's too much stress in life, and you got to love what you do. So
definitely,
absolutely.
So, where can people look for this new adventure? And do you have an ETA of when it's going to be coming out?
A scheduled release date right now is sometime probably in December. So we're a little bit behind. We wanted to have it out for Halloween, but we're going to be realistic. Probably in December that will be released. We also have, like I said, the expansion of our game is coming out within a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
And anybody who wants to go to our website, which is www.neverstopsearching.com, can go check out some of our documentaries on there for free, or they can order some, which has like a lot of cool bonus features. And I was telling you about the event we did at Lizzie Borden's. We actually just posted some cool evidence up there. You guys can go give it a look and listen for yourself and submit some thoughts on it. We'd like to hear your thoughts too on some of this stuff.
We actually posted that to our Facebook page. Was it yesterday or the day before? When you had posted it. Yeah. So
I have a question though about one of them pieces of evidence. The one that's it's the window, the picture of the window. Is that a female investigator that's in front of that, or
yes, it is.
Okay, so is it the thing behind her?
And, Angela was taking pictures, and she was alone in the room, and then it appears like I saw it. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, it looks like there's someone behind her. You see, like, almost like she has an extra arm and everything.
Yep. I was curious because I'm like, is it the person in front or the person behind? Because this definitely looks, to me, it looks like two people.
Definitely.
But I wasn't sure.
And there appears to be someone behind her.
Yeah.
And
How
there was
creepy
nobody
is
behind
that?
her at all.
I bet she got goosebumps after seeing that.
And if you scroll down a little bit from that picture, there's an EVP of a baby crying. Now, this was like kind of in between, like after EVP sessions, she was still rolling her recorder, and I'm like scrolling back looking for, hey, where did I start this session? And there's a whole bunch of people talking, and you hear like, oh, now it's 12 o'clock at night. Whoa, there's no babies in that house. We thought maybe it could be a cat, but it happens again. It's definitely not a cat noise. Well, one of the other attendees did some further research and found that years prior, before even Lizzie Borden lived there, her great aunt or something lived there, supposedly, I guess, like postpartum depression, like wound up killing herself and her 2 kids.
Oh, no.
So
wow.
That's kind of really interesting, like after the fact, because none of us knew that beforehand.
Right, more tragedy at that location.
Yeah.
I've heard
that house is just inundated with tragedy from hundreds of years ago.
I've actually heard some people. I can't even remember who it is, but I mean it's really truly irrelevant. But I've never been there before, and someone had told me that it's really not an active place, and that it's just basically a place that people had tragedy, but they didn't get anything from there. That it's very low activity. So you have been there several times, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you I know you did one of your scared shows there, and I just wanted you to kind of talk about how the activity is there and what it's like for an investigator.
Well, like we were talking about before, a lot of times, you go to a place, you can go to a place multiple times. You're not going to get the same level of activity each time you go.
Right.
I mean, I went there was activity. I went there was really nothing going on. And I think the last time that we went in June, I think that event that we had there, the retrial of Lizzie Borden, really acted as a trigger event. And because we were getting EVPs like left and right, and we're getting answers on the spirit box. It doesn't always happen. So that was pretty cool. And I think people employ things like that, like trigger objects and stuff that can help, spark
grab
activity.
the attention. Yeah.
Although I always tell people don't provoke, because I never provoke.
No.
Because,
I'll see that.
If you pick something off, you might regret it later on.
They might be in your back seat.
Exactly. Like I tell people, hey, you come into my house, call me a fat jerk. You might be right, but you're going to get a punch in the nose regardless.
Yeah, the other thing we don't do
at that point, you deserve it.
The other thing we don't do as a team is, I could say, can you touch me, push me, touch my arm, whatever, but no way do I ever say, go ahead and touch Naomi, or, because that's her, and maybe she doesn't want that to happen,
Right, yeah.
So.
I mean, honestly, I was touched once. I don't want to be touched again, so I won't say that
You're
anymore.
good.
See, personally, I love it. I mean, it's just one more thing, like to enhance
experience,
right? For the the best experience, best equipment's your body, and when something actually happens where I feel something like walk through my arm, or the coldness that you just can't explain, or the tap on your head, or it's just like, what is that?
No, yeah, I mean, I get it, and I like I said, I've had that experience, but it was for me unpleasant, and it's not something I would like to relive.
Right.
It's kind of creepy, you know what I mean? It's like, if that's how it feels, no thanks. Talk on a recorder, please.
Over there.
I just want voices.
15 feet away.
The red light across the room, talking to that.
Don't come any closer.
That's awesome.
So, Chris, how can people find you and kind of friend you or like you or whatever and follow you and all of these cool things you do?
I don't do all that tweet and stuff, but if you look on Facebook, you can find me on Facebook. You can also, you can contact me via the website, neverstopsearching.com. You can find me on Facebook if if I like you, I'll accept your friend request. If not, you'll just be kind of lingering in limbo there for a while. And no, I'm kidding.
So that's what's happening to me. Thanks, Chris.
I like to be silly.
I'm not in limbo.
Chris, what's up with that?
I guess I should
what
let
happened?
him at the
I said,
game.
what's up with that? Why am I in limbo when she's your friend?
Honestly, I rarely ever check my friend requests. I will go and check it. I do get a lot of them, and I'm like, people from India. I'm like, I don't know you, dude.
Right?
Who are you?
Everybody
I'll
wants to
go
bring me.
through and I'll find you, dude. There's like 300 there from people from Palestine, India. I'm like, I don't know any of you people. I'm not accepting your friend request.
Pakistan. It's like, what? No. Delete.
I will find you. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, no, I was just kidding, but I'm actually going to Facebook right now to be
He's just going to check. As he keeps his words.